I'm a kid, so I call it KFAN.
Football Feast.
Holy Toledo!
Shall we begin?
I knew we was going to beat them clowns.
Play around with a bad football team, bad things happen.
Let's go. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
Roughing the passer.
PA and Charch.
He's got big balls.
Bullseye! Oh, no!
Oh, well.
High fives for everybody.
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah! Oh, my God! No way! Ah!
3 runs, 22 yards for Jonathan Taylor. He's the single set. Tight end in motion to the left. Taylor dropped it. Hand off to Taylor. He dropped it. It's bouncing around and no signal and come on. Vikings ball. Jefferson left, Addison right, 2 tight ends. Mutton Hawkinson to the right of Brian O'Neill. Darnold swings out to the right. He throws to the end zone, and Addison caught it! Yes! Touchdown! A diving grab by Jordan Addison, and it's 7-6 Indianapolis. 3rd and 2 from the Colts 42. Indy rushes 4. Darnold fade right and caught at the 6-yard line. He's JJ, and he rolls down to the 1-yard line. 3rd and goal. Darnold shotgun. Jones by his side. Jefferson wide left. 3 receivers right. 7-7. 2:54 to go in the 3rd quarter. Sam back to pass. Straight drop. Throws to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown! Jalen Naylor with his 4th touchdown this season, and the Minnesota Vikings have grabbed a 13-7 lead. 2nd and 11 from the Colts 14. Jones the single set. Addison in motion to the right. Play action from under center. Darnold to the end zone. Touchdown! Josh Oliver with a touchdown to stretch the lead to 2010. 2:05 to go in the game. Colts with just 1 timeout remaining. 3 receivers right, 1 to the left. Flacco facing a 4-man rush. Joe hit and sacked. Down goes Flacco. And it's Jonathan Grenard with his 6th sack this season. Josh Downs in motion to the right. 2 receivers left and right. Flacco takes the Kelly snap, 4-man rush. On 2nd and long, Joe steps up, and Joe is sacked again. Sacked by several Vikings. Jahad Ward may have just come up with his first sack for the Minnesota Vikings. Flacco takes a low snap, 4-man rush. Joe sacked! Back at the 33-yard line, sacked by Jonathan Grenard.
That's why you paid that man.
Hey, Elk River, good morning. How are you? How about Elk River right now, that little sneaky back room over there? Here for the Friday football. PA Charch at Buffalo Wild Wings, Elk River. Nordo produces. Ladies and gentlemen, the Friday Football Feast is engineered by Jared Wells, who tonight will be at Elk River's American Legion 112. It's right around the corner with his band, J-Dub and the L's. And they're going to be covering everything from Korn to Creedence Clearwater Revival. J-Dub, ladies and gentlemen. Go see him tonight at the old 112. Nick Madden's street team is here to serve almost every single desire you have at Buffalo Wild Wings, Elk River for the Friday Football Feast. And the Vikings and Jaguars will make up a fair amount of the conversation today. But first, we had a couple of road warriors last night, ladies and gentlemen. First, the Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Chicago Bulls And the Minnesota Wild dusted the San Jose Sharks. Hey, Road Warriors. And they came out to play. Yay. Vikings at Jags. Are the Minnesota Vikings Road Warriors in this game against the 2-7 Jacksonville Jaguars? And we'll begin here, Mr. Paul Charchian. Justin Jefferson, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Jefferson. What do you? Who knew?
He's pretty good. I've heard good things.
JJ and Jamar Chase from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
They're quite close. Both played at LSU together. Football fans, elite football minds who followed it last night know Jamar went for 264-3 against the Baltimore Ravens. And you know Justin Jefferson was watching his dog, his friend, go for 264-3. First question for you. Off the 264-3 and with the brotherly surrogate brotherly love one-upsmanship, what does JJ have up his sleeve this weekend? And good morning.
This could be a very big game against a very bad Jacksonville pass defense, one of the worst in the league. And JJ doesn't need to equal Jamar Chase, but man, I think he would love that narrative, wouldn't it? Chase last night, 17 targets in the game, 10 catches, 266 yards, multiple big plays. Jefferson, for himself, he's 103 yards away from breaking the record for the most yards in a player's first 5 seasons.
Wow.
I can imagine. Yeah, how about that?
That's pretty good.
All-time NFL record could happen on Sunday with 103 yards. Could he get that on the first drive?
Right.
Can we find a way to get 103 yards on the first drive for Justin and just salt that away?
You know, as the local motion would go, as the Minnesota vibe would go, he is 1 yard from already passing Adam Thielen for the 4th most receiving yards in the history of the Minnesota Vikings. Missed a bunch of games last year. I mean, we're 4.5 into this thing. Holy cow.
Yeah, unbelievable. The pace that Justin's on. And honestly, the Jaguars just don't have the horses to hold up and keep up their side of the bargain here. They've got mediocre cornerbacks. They give up a ton of yards, a ton of receptions.
Right.
It's a very, very strong matchup here. The last 6 quarterbacks to play full games against Jacksonville have all thrown multiple touchdowns. Multiple touchdowns likely coming for Sam Darnold and his receivers and hopefully Justin Jefferson.
Okay, well now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, their quarterback Trevor Lawrence was limited again in practice yesterday. We had a report from Ian Rappaport, a Rappaport report from NFL Network, that Trevor would not play this weekend, which means if the scribe is right, that means Mac Jones will be the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I mean, it's same fishbowl, under different rocks, I guess. But the last time the Vikings faced Mac Jones was Thanksgiving night when he played for the New England Patriots. He went for 387 on us couple of years ago. So. Yeah. Do I believe the demise of Mac Jones is not greatly exaggerated? Yes. But the former first-round pick, if he plays, he knows his way around the gym a little bit. And good morning.
Well, that's all Mac Jones brings you is he's started a bunch of games. He hasn't started them well, by and large. But the best thing you can say about Mac Jones in this matchup is he's got way more talent around him now in Jacksonville, which sounds weird to say, than he had in New England.
Right.
In New England, they had an awful offensive line and no receivers to work with. Mm-hmm. Now he's got good receivers. He's got the best rookie receiver in this class so far, Brian Thomas, to throw to.
Oh, putting a fat L on Marvin Harrison Jr., aren't you?
Yes, I am because he's putting fat L's on us.
Yeah, don't step on that touchdown call. It's part of the fantasy football feast at 10 o'clock. But, Brian Thomas Jr., he passed.
And Evan Ingram is quietly one of the best tight ends in the league. Mm-hmm. So he's got talented players. Gabe Davis pops off for these massive games about once every 5 weeks.
Right.
Maybe that ends up happening here, and that could keep them relevant. But the downgrade from Trevor Lawrence, who'd actually played pretty well over the last month, to Mac Jones is a sizable one. I think the Vikings line moved from
4.5 to 6.
4.5 to, I think, 7.
Yeah, geez.
7-point
road favorite. That's fat.
7-point road favorite. Yep. And that's a lot of why, and reasonably so. So, yeah, the Mac Jones, there's a 95% chance it's Mac Jones.
Okay, well, Mac Jones. Do you know his full name? Because I just learned this yesterday. And like Mac Jones, first name is not McLean.
No.
For
McAllister.
It's not McAllister.
It's the full name, McAllister Herpes Jones.
No, there's no herpes in the equation, at least that we know of. Mac Jones.
That's why he goes by Mac.
His name at birth, Michael McCorkle.
What?
Jones.
McCorkle?
Yeah, now we know why he went to Mac. His middle name's McCorkle. What's McCorkle?
How about just never tell anybody your middle name and go by Michael? What's wrong with Mike or Michael?
Michael McCorkle Jones. And he also was a child actor and model. And I think he made a lot of money off of it.
Well, that was his true calling, because apparently it's not quarterback.
Right. Yeah, instead of running up in the pocket and navigating his way to yards, maybe he's more comfortable on a runway to be found in the very near future. What's up with their running backs, Tank Bigsby and
don't get me going on
Travis Etienne?
You're just trying to get my motor revved.
Oh, no, they've been on the injury report.
I know.
So that's why I bring it up.
They were last week, too.
What's up with your motor?
My motor gets revved up on Tank Bigsby.
Wow.
Paul, Tank Bigsby's one of the 10 best running backs in the league. He's languishing in Jacksonville.
10 best. Tank Bigsby, you say?
All right, maybe 5 best. I mean, if you think 10 is ridiculous, fine. One of the 5 best.
That's awesome.
Tank Bigsby, if you look at all the running backs that have as many carries as he's got, I don't know, like 80 carries.
Yeah.
Number 1 in broken tackle rate.
Oh, geez.
He's sitting at around, I'm doing this off the top of my head, he's sitting at around 5 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
He is a beast. And only because Doug Peterson is a dumbass do they keep trotting out Travis Etienne in this dual running back situation. If you're Doug Peterson,
what happened to Etienne? He used to be good.
He used to be good. He's awful now.
But used to be's don't count anymore. They just lie on the floor till we sweep them away.
Well, not for Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, who should be in full-blown survival of the fittest mode, right? Here you are. If they don't get awesome soon, he's going to lose his job. And you would think that natural selection would tell Doug Peterson that I've got to put the best players on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, natural selection has led Doug Peterson all the way to be a head coach in the NFL. His grandfather survived. His grandfather's grandfather survived.
Wow.
Years and years of natural selection has got Doug Peterson, and he should be thinking about survival.
Right.
He should be putting the best players on the field. Tank Bigsby is awesome. Travis Etienne is an ordinary plodding running back, and he's also the bottom-graded pass-protecting running back in the entire league by PFF.
I hope he plays.
They should be doing full-blown Tank Bigsby, but Doug Peterson is a dumbass, and they won't do it.
That is Paul Charchian from GuillotineLeague.com, and I'm Paul Allen. Welcome, Elk River, to the Friday football feast at Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River. Thank you, TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes a former Viking who was a game-changing defensive player with Grey Duck vodka, spirits, and bourbon now. Chad Greenway will be on site shortly. Fantasy Football Feast jumps into the equation about 10 o'clock. Bikes Bites around the corner. And Alec Lewis from The Athletic. He's a staple at the Friday Football Feast. He'll be here at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much for coming out on this Friday. We thank you very much for listening to KFAN. When you do, Chad Greenway will join us around the corner. And Bikes Bites actually in the middle part of the show. And Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River. Thank you very much for listening to the Friday Football Feast. And here's Nordo with that cash thing.
The Fan, along with 2 men in a junk truck, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. The keyword is win. You might win $1,000 with the keyword win at KFAN.com.
Football Feast. Man.
A special guest has joined us, but Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River first. A happy birthday wish to Haley Fingelson, who's joining us today at Buffalo. Oh, that must be you, as you are aghast. Happy birthday. Happy birthday from the Friday Football Feast team. And with Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the great tacklers, one of the great linebackers in the history of Minnesota Vikings football joins us each and every Friday to feast. Can we get a witness or 200, and a raucous round of applause for Chad Greenway, ladies and gentlemen. Chad Greenway, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka, Grey Duck Spirits, and Grey Duck Bourbon. The Minnesota Vikings 6-1 all-time versus the Jaguars. Chad Greenway was 3-0 versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, I wanted to pin that one loss on Chad.
Yeah, usually it's always bad news when I talk about these things. I'm loving it.
We ain't done. 3-0.
Oh, here we go.
All right, 3-2. 3-0 all-time versus the Teal. You played at Jacksonville in 2008. You beat them at Metrodome in 2012, and you beat them again in Jacksonville your final season, 2016. I'll just lay it out like this. What's your most vivid memory from all 3 games against the Jaguars? And good morning.
And good morning. You already know what this is.
Give it to us then.
It's the Maurice Jones-Drew bit. You know it is.
Hey,
yeah.
Here we go.
Most overrated first-round pick in history.
Make noise if you're familiar with former running back Maurice Jones-Drew. Okay.
You also just asked how many of you were playing fantasy football 12 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's lay it out like this. Chad Greenway in 2006 was the 17th overall pick in the draft. 17th
Steal.
overall.
What a steal.
SOD terrorism, though. Steal of the draft. And Maurice Jones-Drew, well, he was drafted the same year. He just happened to go 60th in the 2006 draft. So my man was so bitter. So bitter that Chad Greenway went that far ahead of him in the draft. Late in a Minnesota Vikings blowout win against Jacksonville, Chad tackles Maurice Jones-Drew. Offers, yeah, he had 13. He had 13 in that game. Offers up a woo! Maurice, it was so empty in the building, we could actually hear it in the Vox box. Maurice Jones-Drew looks at Chad Greenway and says, "You are the worst first-round pick in the history of the National Football League." Why are you clapping at that?
Yeah, seriously. Why are they laughing?
A lot of Gopher fans here, right? So that is the most vivid memory, probably, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those. I remember we should have brought my wife on for this segment because she was at that game in Jacksonville.
Really?
She's like, I cannot believe this city and state, or this city has an NFL team, and these fans are horrible, and the stadium sucks. I'm like, okay, how was your trip to Florida?
And then she went after Maurice Jones-Drew's wife after the game by the buses.
No, she actually agreed with him. Yeah. She's like,
yeah, that's about right.
She's like, yeah, he's pretty overrated.
That's the greatest news Erasmus James has gotten in the history of his life.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
We did make amends, though. MJD and I, we made amends
Really?
later on. Yeah, he came to his senses after I kept doing well, and he had a nice career.
Oh, he had a great career.
Good career. I'll say great. A good career.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you
Worthy of a second-round pick.
That he was.
But share how that went, because he came up to Chad at some some type of a conference or something. All five of them, and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, Chad."
Yeah,
that's how it went, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, I think it was actually during the Super Bowl here, Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota. I saw him at Mall of America, and we made amends. We bro hugged it out, and we were fine. Everything was good after that.
The Minnesota Vikings finally won a game without without Blake Cashman. They beat the Indianapolis Colts, and the Minnesota Vikings defense in that Colts game was terrific most of the game, but no Blake Cashman. 1-2. Not sure he's going to play this weekend. We discussed it a little bit last week. You've now seen another game with Sans Cashman. It's a man. He might be the heart and soul of this defense.
I got to text Cashman, just tell him, but linebackers in Minnesota, we don't miss games.
All right, what are you doing?
I know he's one of us, right? He's an Eagle from Eden Prairie, but I'm like, come on, guy, we got to get right here. We need him bad. You know, the thing about that game that was so scary, and you brought this up last week, the creatures on that defensive line, the Colts. I'm like, at some point, it was like, how are we going to stop these guys? Because they were controlling the game for the first half. And you saw it offensively. We were unable to get things going, and they were just disrupting everything. But kudos to our staff. Kudos to Sam and the line for getting together and finishing that game in the second half. And the game ended how it should have ended, and in a dominant fashion. But I was a little on edge because when you have a dominant defensive line like they had, it was just a little scarier than it had to be in that first half. But, you know, to go back to the Vikes and our defenses, we need to get right in this Jacksonville game. It would be so good to have Blake back. just to be able to get right defensively, kind of everybody was going to play, and then kind of push forward these next 3 weeks that we all know are huge.
Well, in Paul Charchian's Tolstoy, which is in front of him, the voluminous notes he puts together for each feast, he and I are in lockstep with something involving Blake Cashman. Now Blake did not practice. I mean, for a couple of weeks now. He went limited on Wednesday. Yours truly got excited. He went limited yesterday, which means if you get a full today, he's probably going to play this weekend. I wouldn't predict a full today. And Paul added in the Tolstoy, his notes, that it may behoove the team to sit him this game, maybe next game, to just get that, because he's so important to make sure that sucker's like 100%.
Turf toe is a problem injury. It's torn ligaments in the toe. It's not only is it really painful, but everything you want to do from a mobility standpoint is affected. You can't plant right. You can't accelerate off it, push off it. It's bad. And it just needs time.
Yep.
Now, to me, we should be able to handle the Jacksonville Jaguars without Blake Cashman. I would like to think that we can win without him. And if it's not 100%, the last thing you want to do is aggravate the injury, reset the timetable on Blake Cashman because he's so important. You have the luxury of playing a 2-win team in week 10. If he's less than 100%, I don't know that we need Blake for this game.
Yeah, I agree to a point because you got to play what's smart. So what's the smart play here? If he is absolutely not ready, you don't force it. If he's ready to play, I think you allow him to play. Playing on grass, natural surface, I think does matter. It's not going to disrupt that as much, but I think you have to be ready. There's a point where you're like, okay, he's now safe to go compete. I think you let him go compete. I don't think you save him. But if he's on the edge, you don't take him. In this game, with the players we have behind him who can obviously get wins and play well enough to win, is we don't need to force that.
Hey, but the identity of fantasy football, Mr. Charchian, well, he has an agenda here. He has an agenda.
Shocking.
Well, no, because he has deep love for running something called Tank Bigsby.
I love Tank Bigsby.
And he knows if Cashman plays, Bigsby's probably on like a 17 for 52. If Cashman doesn't play, maybe it'd be like a 15 for 83, and Flores will be kind enough to let him in the end zone. That's the long.
Well, okay, fine, busted. I do love Tank.
That was your hard sell this week?
I love him, but he's locked into this two-headed monster backfield. Not monsters. Travis Etienne.
How did you call last week, the Colts receiver? I forget his name.
Josh Downs, 6 for 60. I thought he would do a little more, but he ended up hitting about what his Vegas line was going to be. He was the best of the Colts receivers last week.
You never invite me to a league, so I never know how to play these games. Maybe next year.
Team league next year, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we're getting close.
See how our friendship grows.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, you're easy money. I want you in.
Yeah.
I'm going to spin up $1,000 league.
Yeah. Now I want to get in for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That'll get you in. Vikings run defense, with or without Blake Cashman, has been pretty good on the full season.
Harrison Phillips, though.
Look at what Jonathan Taylor last week.
Yep.
It's one of the elite backs in this league, and
been one of the better running games in the league for a while.
Yeah, and they have that's a good offensive line.
And running game is about momentum. It's just about momentum. Can you get defensive linemen and running backs on edge, and can you get the play calling going in a point where you can feel the run game coming? And they never got there. It was really disrupted, broken up, and I think that was really important.
You've been on the other side of that?
Yes.
What's that like when the other team's running game is in rhythm and it's just
miserable.
Like chunk play?
Miserable. Your eyes get confused, and you think you know what's coming and you don't, and the play caller's got it going, and then confidence in the offensive line and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. When they pull around the corners, just a little bit more energy and effort coming around, and you can think back, and one of the worst ones I played was against the 49ers in San Francisco, the Monday night game, late game, and the running game was just dominant. 3 tight end, 2 tight end sets. We weren't prepared for it, and I think when you get a running game going downhill and they don't have to throw the ball and you can't stop them is maybe the most disheartening and just confidence killers that you can have, because it's a physical error. Like, you can't be physical enough, strong enough at the point of attack to get stops. Then you start missing tackles. It just becomes a mental game. I've been there. It's not fun.
When and not just for that game, but when you install a defensive plan and it goes pear-shaped right off the bat, do they have the same script? Like, the offense has got their 15-ish plays that are scripted. Does the defense have a script like that?
You have an idea of what you want to get to on 3rd and 2 to 4, 3rd and 3 to 6, 3rd and long.
Right.
And you have an idea, but it's so much situational. Defensively, you're always reacting to people, right?
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I liked about playing in Zimmer's defense was we took the offense to them. It's like we're going to dictate the tempo of this game.
Yeah.
Think about like basketball. It's always about who can dictate the tempo of the game, the flow. Well, an aggressive defense like Flores has allows you to dictate some of the tempo of the game and say, you know what, we don't really care what you're going to do. We're going to see what you're going to line up in, and then we're going to bring a pressure at you to see if you can handle it out of this set, out of this motion, out of this formation.
Yeah.
And I like that mentality. I sat back in the Tampa 2 for 8 years, reacted to people all the time.
Hey,
bend but don't break. But it was just more fun to be aggressive.
After Nordo and I chatted it out for a couple of days, I want to get your guys' opinions on this. John Parker Romo. All right? John Parker Romo. Make noise. Make noise if you have no idea who John Parker Romo is. No, please do. Make noise. Yeah.
No.
Well, he's your Vikings kicker for the next 4 games, or at least this one, depending on.
Right. We'll see.
Will Reichert, the Alabama rookie, had the audacity to miss a couple of kicks, and after going 30 for 30 on the extra points and the field goals, so John Parker Romo, who never has kicked a football in a regular season game, he's going to be booting the old pigskin for a 6-2 operation this weekend. So with John Parker Romo, do you think this opens the door to get clever, creative, and or intuitive, or maybe enterprising with 2-point conversions? Or do you go business as usual here because he's your kicker?
Yeah, I go business as usual. I think you let the flow of the game take you. You don't go force 2-point conversions early. You get your one. You got to trust him. You signed him. He obviously went through a tryout process. They brought in a few guys, I'm sure. Do we know if Reichert got hurt pre the first miss? Or post?
Matt Daniels, the special teams coordinator, paraphrasing, basically said he was cool on the first kick. It's like somewhere around, it was something during the game.
When I saw his operation on that first swing, it did not, something looked different from every other swing that he had taken.
Hold on.
Plant foot, everything else. But
noted kicking expert Chad Greenway, ladies and gentlemen.
I was studying the angle of his foot.
Yeah.
Studying the angle of his foot and kind of the trajectory and the swing path.
You'd have a better chance.
I put it on my golf simulator. I put that swing on my golf simulator.
You'd have a better chance finding Ryan Longwell in the Bahamas and asking him to watch and then stealing his takes.
But no, it was more of the swing didn't look clean to me. It really didn't. I mean, not obviously from a scientific standpoint, I have no idea what's going on. But to watch him, it did not look as clean as the other ones because he had looked so confident before then, and you know. It's tough to lose your kicking game at this part of the season, but the nice part is you're going to get them back for the stretch run when it's going to matter.
Right. Also, new snapper.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got 2 of the 3 parts are new here.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Somebody called Jake McQuaid.
Yes.
37 years old.
We know Jake.
37. Yeah, he's been in the.
Yeah, he's been.
He was playing when you were playing.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of experience. So that's a good pickup.
He does.
I think when you lose your operation, though, the timing. I mean, you had a busy week this week trying to get everything aligned. And
no doubt.
You can't come down to the kicking game this week. That's for sure.
He played for the Rams in the Super Bowl, so he's a Super Bowl winner. Jake McQuaid played for the Lions last year. They got all the way to the NFC Championship game with him as their.
I think he grew up with Rudy in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
wow. That's exactly. It's in my notes.
Oh, same high school, right?
The Elder
high school with Kyle Rudolph. They were off by a year or 2, but they were in the same draft class together. So Kyle Rudolph, experience with Jake McQuaid. Yeah, so they're 2 of the 3 parts are new. Yeah, I think it would be a little demoralizing for them if you in the situations where you would normally kick a field goal, you obviously don't. And I think they'd be like, "Hey, come on, let's, I don't know that you want to."
He's going to hit the game winner. He's going to hit the game winner.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah,
honestly.
that's a good point.
Let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I love it. Can we do a couple things? Can we boo the guy with the Lions hoodie on? We don't do this a lot, but it's just that time of year. We should probably start to think about rivalries, and we're going to come into Detroit and win later in the year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Think about what you just said. And this is with all due respect to the Motor City Kitties. Okay? I mean, low-key, I've been a Detroit Lions fan for X amount of years. Why? Because when the schedule came out, you could just mark WW when you see the Lions. But that ain't the case anymore. So
that hoodie looks pretty new. I think the tag's still on that thing. He's a new fan, I think.
Hey, better be careful. Better be careful when you're booing these kiddies with that offense. Okay. Well, how about this?
He's been there for 1 year at least.
Oh, he's got a 2023 championship. Congratulations.
That's great. But how about this? A couple of things with the Lions since you brought them up. One, safeties Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. They have 10 interceptions. Holy cow! And with rookie Terry and Arnold and the cat they got from Tampa Bay, Carlton Davis or something, might be the best secondary in the NFL. And secondly, I heard this on the drive here, and Charch probably knows it because he's fantasy football raised and trained. It's 30 or 33. The last 30-ish targets from Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown have all been caught. It's 30 consecutive targets.
They got
have caught them all.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
Well, look what Jared Goff's on pace to shatter the
We're supposed to be booing the Lions.
Season.
Yeah, you know what?
Got off course
I apologize for turning this into the Lions football feast in Allen Park, Michigan. So let's move on and get back to our preferred squad. All right, 3-2.
Yeah, that would be our Minnesota Vikings. The TJ Hawkinson came back for 24 routes run last week. I think, it felt like he was on the field roughly half the snap.
Perfect load level, I think, for him last week.
I thought he looked very natural.
Yes.
I'd like to see him bump it up by like 50% here. Let's get him into like the 36 routes run range. And honestly, average tight ends have beaten up this Jaguars team. A lot of people beaten up the Jaguars a lot of ways, but guys like Tucker Kraft and Hunter Henry and Cole Kmet and Dalton Kincaid, those 5 guys average 5 catches, 70 yards, and a full touchdown per game.
Sounds like a huge game for Josh Oliver.
I think TJ goes right back to the guy that he has been. And as a reminder for people, because it's been almost a year, TJ Hawkinson was leading the NFL in targets when he went down last year at about 8.5 per game. Huge part of this Kevin O'Connell offense.
Well, you talk about a guy who just is the comfort blanket for the quarterback in the middle of the field, a guy who knows how to use his body and get open, 3rd down and 5, 3rd down and 8. Can you use this guy to get open and trust him in man-to-man? He's obviously a guy who's going to give linebackers issues, DBs issues, whoever you want to put on him. So to have another weapon amongst the weapons we already have, with a healthy Aaron Jones, you love that we could use him a lot on 3rd downs and situations. Hit a seam, hit a gap, get his confidence going. I think it's just going to help Sam take another step.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, you're beginning, whether you hear it, but now you witness it live, partially what my life is like Friday with Paul Charchian, the co-host of the Friday Football Feast. Watch, I'll lay it out like this. Hey, when the Minnesota Vikings have a touchdown scored by tight end Josh Oliver, does it make you cheer?
Yes, absolutely.
Josh Oliver. Charch hates it. Nobody has him rostered. So I go like, great game for Josh Oliver. He's like, okay, let's move on and talk about TJ. Everybody has him.
That's right.
Yeah, this is not the leader of the Trent Sherfield Senior Fan Club, and he might score this week. So you got to understand the lot in life. But anyway.
Yeah, it's not easy being Paul. Like I got my favorites. Last night, Tanner Hudson touchdown. What are you doing to me? Mike Gesicki right there.
Tanner Hudson, though.
Yeah.
Holy cow, where'd you get that wiggle?
I know.
My man looked fantastic. Cincinnati Bengals fan line continues around the corner. Let's return to our originally scheduled programming, discussing the Vikings and the Jaguars.
Yeah, you feel like with Hawkinson back in, you get the feeling, and a little bit's the confidence of the way the Vikings played in the second half last week, that this offense is going to do what it's supposed to do and was built to do with all the pieces in place. Like it's all coming together.
Well,
You're more excited than O'Connell.
That piece of the playbook is now going to be reopened and relooked at as like, how can we use these tight ends? And now we have tight ends that have more experience behind TJ because they've had to fill in. I think that's a big help as well. But the one thing you have to worry about in a game like this, you come back and get a win you were supposed to win last week at home. Great second half. You have to be aware of going down to Jacksonville, the 2-win team, and taking care of business. And I think that's something, we talk about, you're professionals. You got to show up and play the game.
Yeah.
There's a natural letdown when you go on the road to a team that you think you're supposed to beat, to roll the helmet out there and get it done. And we've seen it across every level of sport when you're not fully mentally locked in and prepared. So it's going to come down to, can the staff get these guys to understand the level of importance of gaining momentum, getting a second win in a row, after having 2 losses that we should have, we had in hand, both of them. This is a massive win for us.
All right, it's radio, so it's not TV, so we'll explain it. Those of you here at Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River, you can see what I'm going to talk about momentarily. That one of these 8 million beautiful, vivid TVs here at Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River. See that middle TV? They're talking about the Eagles. Now, that team is 6-2, all right? And they're going great guns right now. Imagine you're coach Nick Sirianni and you just roll into the cafeteria to get like a bagel and a black coffee before you start scheming before practice, and you catch that stray on the TV.
Yeah.
Is Nick Sirianni, Eagles weak link, just walk into the cafe? Hey, what did I do to earn that? Are you kidding me?
Fun.
We're 6-2.
It's a slow week.
Well, that's catching a stray right
they
there.
They hate him in Philly. They hate
everything.
Isn't that how they elect their coaches? Just hated? I mean, that's just all what it is.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, I remember booing the Mike Vick-led Eagles when they were a for sure shoe-in playoff team, 4 minutes into the game. I'm like looking around like, what is happening here? Just a different breed out there.
It is, yeah. They're 6-2. Yeah. They're going to be next Thursday night. We just saw last week's was great. Next Thursday night, Eagles, Commander for what could ultimately be the deciding game of the division.
Yep.
We'll get to find out now. The Commanders still have to take care of business against a good Steelers team.
Ooh.
I don't know how that's going to work out on Sunday, but hoping they win. So this thing has, next Thursday's game has got a lot of meat on the bone to figure out, is Jaden Daniels ready to bring the Commanders potentially to first place in the division, right? And can he go knock down Jalen Hurts and a very good Eagles team?
The co-host mentions the Pittsburgh football Steelers. We have a common thread with Lions guy here, okay? A common thread with Lions fans and Lions guy. The Pittsburgh Steelers now feature a pass rusher named Preston Smith, who actually begged his way out. Well, he's not the first to do this, but he begged his way out of Green Bay. Like 3 weeks ago, they got a new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, and he's kind of like, this ain't it, okay? Right. I don't know what we're doing here with Rashawn and me having our hand in the grass in this 4-3 thing. It's not that it's not it, and I'm a tough guy. I don't want to be here anymore. And they traded him. That was
unbelievable.
Crazy.
Just as a quick shout out, Jonathan Greenard and what we've gotten from his pass rush.
Oh yeah,
has been tremendous. And I don't think we've talked enough about, as I'm coming in, you guys are playing highlights of the win the second half, and our pass rush and defensive line, the way they not only they're playing against the run game and what we talked about earlier with the numbers and what we're putting up and how everybody's playing on the front. Harrison Phillips obviously playing really well. But we've gotten pressure with our front when we've had to get pressure. And, I haven't looked at all those sets and how we've gotten home, but you're not having to always add a rusher to those situations, although we know Flores loves to.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot from those front four, and I think that's going to be very pivotal down the stretch. And all of a sudden, Flores' scheme, you naturally become a little bit more predictable as the year goes on because you have only so many arrows to throw. It's like, how can we now trust our front four to get home? And we've done a good job of that when we've had to do it in third, and got to have it passing downs.
Alec Lewis, who's here at 11 o'clock. One of his most recent story, one of his recent pieces at The Athletic, he went predictive and listed 11 things about the Vikings through the final X amount of games during the year. One thing he said about Grenard is he should be in Defensive Player of the Year conversation. A lot of these metrics and everything the newfangled kids follow, that he would be a candidate, but he wouldn't win it.
That's tremendous. Do you think if he's even in that conversation, and can he keep the momentum? And it's going to come down to, you get a lead in Jacksonville, are you able to pin your ears back and go rush the quarterback? Go get a couple of cheap ones down there. Just keep the momentum going because pass rush is like anything else, like a running game. Yeah. Momentum, man. You see Jared used to get going back in the day when Jared would get one, and then he'd get two, and then all of a sudden the left tackle's like, oh, I can't handle this guy. Is he going to go inside, outside? Then he goes power, and he's like, what is he going to do next? It's just a momentum thing with these guys. And especially the high-level ones.
Jonathan Grenard, 7 sacks, 5 against the AFC South, 3 against Houston, 2 against the Colts. And another piece of some symbiotic nature with the Lions fan. The Vikings and Lions against the AFC South this year, wrote it down earlier in the week, I'll get close. I mean, the AFC South really wants nothing to do with the Vikings or the Lions here.
Yeah.
They're outscoring them like 107-34. I mean, it's just a bloodbath when the North captures the South. He's Chad Greenway, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka, Grey Duck Spirits, with Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. This is the Friday Football Feast at Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River on FM 100.3 KFAN.
Football Feast. Hashtag Faith Radio.
Welcome back, Buffalo Wild Wings Elk River for the Friday Football Feast. Grey Duck Vodka, Spirits, Bourbon. You just presented a check. What's going on there, Mike?
No, nothing.
That was a hell of a check that you guys presented, man.
That was pretty sweet.
Philanthropic reasons. So thank you for that. Now, you haven't played football for 8 seasons. How about that? Chad hasn't played for 8 seasons. Okay. But he played 5 with Harrison Smith. And Harrison, the hitman, is still playing every snap and at a high level. I mean, like into the season, some of the steam was, all right, well, a hitman maybe taking, some plays off during the game to keep him fresh for December football. No, he's playing every single snap.
Wow.
And he's still playing at a high level. Chad played with him for half a decade, man.
Yeah, I think what he's done is obviously, we talked to HOF about Harry the last couple off seasons and what he's done just from a number standpoint.
Yep.
But what he's doing and continue to with his age, with the amount of plays he's played in his career, because this guy's been playing every snap for a long time.
Yes.
His ability to stay healthy, play through injuries, but also the thing you typically tend to lose, right, is your speed, your high-end ability. He can counteract some of that with his ability to just know what's coming ahead of time and put himself in better position. They have him at the line of scrimmage 1.5 seconds before the snap, and then he plays the deep third.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what he's doing, or playing a deep half or a deep quarter and a
back
deep third.
pedal.
The back pedal, spin the hips, and now he's playing a ball at 40, 50 yards is just unbelievable. I don't think people understand how hard that is, but they don't really understand how hard that is at his age. And, the fact that I've been done for 8 and I've been with him for 5, it shows you just how incredible he is. And to me, he's now become a first ballot, in my opinion. Statistically, his length of his career, and maybe go get a Super Bowl win this year.
We think so here. If Harrison Smith were playing in New York or L.A. or San Francisco, it would be a done deal on the first ballot, and he would just be salting that away right now with the extra years that, he didn't have to play. And, knowing him, if you weren't enjoying it, you weren't effective, you weren't running the scheme he wanted, he wouldn't be playing.
Guess what? I mean, this might not be his last year.
It might not.
No.
I mean, it's like, okay, on a year-by-year deal because of his age, stuff like that. But, I mean, he loves this defense and what his role is. He's playing a lot. It's the spirit has returned to Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. It's just a very vibrant building, no matter if the team wins or loses. That's one of many things I like about it. But Harrison has just really embraced the youthful nature of this team. You can just tell even when you see him at practice.
I think one interesting take on Harrison is he started his family a couple years ago, has a couple young kids, and now his priorities from being a guy who went from being single to kind of having a good time playing the league to now being married, settling down, having a family. Your priorities shift and your motivation changes. And I think he's going to want to do this for an amount of time that he's able to do it.
Yeah.
As I told him last year when he was asking me for some advice, is like, when it's over, like, you ain't going back.
Right.
Like, you have to be sure the tank is empty.
Yeah.
And clearly he has positioned himself that he's not done. And why would he stop playing at this point?
Well, now that he has 2 little kids traipsing around the household, A, when you're gone, absence makes the heart grow fonder. B, more reason to want to play.
Yes, exactly.
Just because it can work on the last nerve sometimes, but he's still good. Adam Schefter, beloved Shefty, when he tweets or when he reports, he hits 99.3% of the time. And his most recent tweet, Matt, producer, just sent this to me. From Doug Peterson, head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Who I just called a dumbass.
Doug Peterson said it's trending to Trevor Lawrence not playing Sunday versus the Vikings. And Michael McCorkle Jones, Mac Jones would start in his place. So we're starting to get daggers in this thing.
I think you start prepping for Mac Jones, and I don't know how much prep you really need to do, but maybe some.
Yeah.
You've been in scenarios just like this many times, where you think it's going to be quarterback A, and then you get to Friday, and you're like, oh, well, that's okay. It's going to be somebody else.
Well, what I can tell you is if you're preparing everything for Trevor Lawrence and you get Mac Jones, you'll be prepared for Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. So just go prepared like Trevor Lawrence is going to play, because the only thing that will shift is a heavier run game early in downs, and then obviously getting into second down, you're probably going to have to be more consistent with the run, not to give up yardage on a sack or decision. Obviously,
and Lawrence runs.
Our defense... Our defense has been pretty good at taking the ball away. Yeah. So you're going to be very smart with your play calling, very conservative early if you have Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. Trevor Lawrence is an athlete. He can run. He's going to obviously has the ability to throw. The talent's there. You have to prepare for him. And if you get Mac Jones, you get Mac Jones.
Yeah. And you're going to get Mac Jones in this one. And I don't know if you go back and you start breaking down Mac Jones' tape from the Patriots days and try to figure out who he is and, what his tendencies are. You're like, you know what? It doesn't matter.
There's a point
that was a different team, different scheme, different players. And, maybe that part doesn't matter.
There's a point where you start chasing ghosts and you're like, what are we doing here? Right? Go home and get some sleep because you're already prepared for Trevor Lawrence. So, you may want to do a deeper dive into third down runs, second down running game. What's that looking like? Is it any different from the first down? You're going to get probably a two-headed monster from the running back position here, and they're going to try to rely on that, and I don't see that happening.
Okay, now the 2009 Vikings, absolutely the best team for whom you ever played, right? Yeah. All right, so maybe not necessarily that team because you lost to Pittsburgh, but then it started to get weird later in the year. Sunday night at Charlotte, overtime. Aroma Shadu, double move on immortality, Antoine Winfield. Then you get to the playoffs, you kill Keith Brooking, and the Saints cheat, and they go to the Super Bowl.
Keith Brooking.
All right, so here's the question. So whether you're on that team or just a really good team, is because with a belief that human nature gets to win too. All right, you're 6-2, they're 2-7. You're watching film. You're seeing the Eagles get over the top for 46. You're seeing the Eagles toy with them with intermediate, just wide open guys. Packers get like a 60, a 50, a bunch of 20s. Everybody's getting over the top on the Jaguars, like Charch said earlier. So now you see that. Defensively, now Mac Jones is going to play. Both their running backs, Etienne and Bigsby, both limited on the injury report. Mm-hmm. I don't think both will play. I don't think both will miss. But nevertheless, overconfidence is a word I'm trying to not use here. But you know what I'm saying? Like where you kind of like, human nature settles in. Yeah. Now all of a sudden it's more of a meat grinder than it should be. Like, how do you avoid that as an athlete?
I don't think it's necessarily a fair comparison in this situation because I think the relationship between Brett and Chili in 2009 led to the last month of that season.
Yeah.
And when you're on the sidelines and somebody's being threatened to be taken out of the game, who was immortality, it got to lead to some bad vibes. And teams that we lost to, we shouldn't have. Then you go to Soldier Field, and the echoes of Soldier Field live on. And
Jay Cutler
and Aroma Shadu, who was my teammate later, was like, "Come on, Dev! Wow. Like you had to have that game."
Antoine,
but
Peterson fumbling. That the only argument I got into with Brad Childress doing X's and O's or the coaches show, where we actually went back and forth a little bit. Hunter Hillenmeyer, I believe that's who it was.
Vanderbilt.
Well, Adrian Peterson, he had a first down, but, Adrian's beast mode. He's trying to get an extra 9 feet.
Oh, yeah.
And he made the ball vulnerable. It came out. Bears got it, went down and won the game.
Right sideline, still remember that heartbreaker.
Yeah. And Chili's like every last blade of grass, can't take the fight out of the... I'm like, yeah, I understand, but discretion's also the better part of valor. And having recognition of the situation, the standings, the score, the time on the clock, the whole thing. And
fast forward to New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
And you have the same situation.
Yeah.
Just to understand the situation. You've only played 700 football games.
Yeah.
Throw the ball. I digress. All right? The reality is it's a different situation, but you have to err on the fact that when you're going on the road, I said this earlier, you have to understand what you're getting yourself into. Is this game, now when you're in this position at 6-2, these games, these winnable, quote-unquote, easier games in the NFL, have to be dubs.
Yep.
Because you know what's coming. Our division's coming, right? We have to play the Bears twice. You got to play the Lions again.
Right.
You got to play the Pack again. Like, you have 4 games that are going to be toss-ups that you have to go win these games to get to that 9-10 wins to guarantee yourself a shot at the end. And that's all you need is a shot. We've seen this from the wild card round to winning the division is like you give yourself a chance and the team gets hot at the right time. You can go win this thing. And then Harrison Smith will for sure be in the Hall of Fame.
The last MVP that was not a quarterback was Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Now how many years ago was that? 2012. So we're 13 seasons.
Every rule is built around the quarterbacks. You can't touch these guys. You can't sack them. You can't hit them. You can't go low. You can't go high. You can't get the face mask. And now they win all the MVPs. It's like we're not being touched by anybody.
Unless you're Sam Darnold, then you can rip his face mask off and you can hit him in the head.
I'm so sick
Joe
of that.
Burrow
That's the third. That's the third time this year that's happened.
Yeah.
To Sam. It's like it doesn't
cheaters.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm not necessarily agreeing that was an egregious penalty where you have to throw all these penalties because the guy got hit.
One?
I'm saying
that was a face mask.
The only reason it drives me crazy because 90% of quarterbacks are going to get that call.
Yeah.
It's just that Sam doesn't now for the third time, which has directly impacted outcomes of games.
Amen.
Yeah, don't love that. But I'll mention this. Derrick Henry's in the conversation this year. He is on pace right now.
What did he finish with last night? When I fell asleep, it was like 11 for 26.
Yeah, last night moved his teammate. And Lamar Jackson is the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And right now, Derrick Henry's 20-1 to win. It's not likely, but if he gets to that magic 2,000-yard mark, which is in play for sure, I think he's trending at about like 1950 or something right now. If he gets that 2,000-yard mark, maybe Derrick Henry's going to be in this conversation for MVP. He's special. There's nobody like him.
I remember my last year was his first year. And I was the backside down in Tennessee, backside of the plays away from me. I don't have to tackle this creature.
Right.
And all of a sudden he put his foot in the ground and came back across the formation with the head of speed downhill and like a 6-yard run. I'm like, what do you do with this?
Yeah. Right.
He's bigger than me, faster than me, better looking than me, stronger than me, and I just go low. You just bite the ankles. I'm like, I'm too old for this, and I retired about 12 games later.
And he went to Alabama, meaning he was getting NIL before NIL was NIL.
Yeah, they had the big bag of money just getting carted around.
Hey, Chad Greenway, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. Love having you.
Thank you.
Feast. Likewise for Grey Duck Vodka, Spirits, and Bourbon. The Fantasy Football Feast is around the corner on KFAN.